Hello, we're Team 6 and I'm Yuni.
My name is Nhi.
I'm James.
And I'm Kush.
Our project is called MeetU and it's a web app to schedule group meetings. Our motivation for the project was that we saw various limitations in the current solutions that are freely available. For example, CatMe, it has a really confusing UI that may mislead users to accidentally fill out the survey wrong. And the other option, When to Meet, it has a old UI and it cannot save previous meetings per user. It also doesn't have any voting options. So our target audience are students who are looking for a free software that will help them streamline their group meeting scheduling process. With MeetU, our users can create account with username, password, and login and logout. They can create a new event with title, description, poll, and other informations for the meeting, add their availabilities and vote for a topic. They can see all the events they created in the past on a single dashboard view. They can also change the color theme between light mode and dark mode.
So I'm going to take over and just show a little demo of the app. So as you can see, this is the homepage of our app. And if we try to, let's say, go to the dashboard right now, since you're not logged in, you will be greeted with this error page. So let's try and log in right here. We will create a new user. We'll call this user test. Your password is test as well. And so just like that, we have created a new user. Over here, you can also see our dark and light mode functionality. This is our dark mode and this is the light mode. And so the way this login works is that this is a SQL table in the background, in the backend. It's called users, and we can see that table right here, wherein it has a username, it has a password, and it has a user ID. The user ID is a uniquely generated string of characters which we use for various purposes, such as fetching user preferences, what meetings they're in, and so on and so forth. So let's go and create a new meeting right here. We'll call this 326 project meeting, discuss web dev. We will select what days we are available on. So for example, these 4 days, we will select what time range we can meet at, let's say between 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. And we can maybe make a poll such as what location we want to meet in. So the title's location, and we can add some options like Morel or Leisurely or ILC. And just like that, we can create a new event right now. Now, this is the timetable page. On the left, you have your own availability, and on the right, you can see everyone else's availability. So I'm going to go here and I'm going to select some times I'm available at. So I'm available on these times, and as you can see, it starts populating the group availability chart as well. Similarly, I can also select what locations I want to study at. So I can be like, I want to go to Leisurely, and it will show me Leisurely and ILC. And just like that, when everyone has voted, you can see all the best poll options right here and who the participants are. You can also copy the URL right here and share it with other people. We can now go back to the dashboard to see that our new meeting has been created. Now, let's see how this appears in the SQL. We can print out the table that has to do everything with events. So we select everything from events. We see that there's a JSON which has stored all the data on our meeting details, such as the poll, what options there are, when we're meeting, the title. There's a unique meeting ID, which is tied only to this meeting, which we use in the URL to share it with other people. And there's all the user IDs of the participants. Now, let's try to sign out from this account, and we can sign into a new account just to experiment a bit more. We'll call this account test2 with the password test2. And so we have created a new event. You can see that since the test2 user is a new user, they get their own new dashboard. And we can see in the users table that they have a new user ID and we can see their username and password. And similarly, we can create a new event and we can do what we did. And once we're done, we sign out and then we can sign back in as one of the initial users. So test, password test, and there's our test dashboard again. That concludes a small demo of the app, and we can now discuss some of the challenges, some of the technologies, and I'll pass it to James.
So the structure to build our front end, we used originally HTML and CSS, although we ended up migrating to EJS templates. This was because it helped us connect our front end to our back ends. For the styling, we also used Bootstrap. We did use some CSS too, but we mainly tried to stick to the Bootstrap 5 layout. And for our back end, we will explain what we used.
Right, for the backend, the database that we use is SQL with local Postgres database to manage relational databases. And this is so that we can have a more reliable and secure, efficient way to store and retrieve data. For the login authentication, we've also used Postgres SQL to store user credentials. And this is to make sure that only authorized individuals access MeetU applications and its features, which also adds more security to the project. So how we connect the backend to the front end is by establishing the connections using Express, which is a framework for Node.js. And we've created routes, handle requests and send responses to the front end, which helps create communications between the user interface and the backend. And because we're using EJS, it creates a more flexible web page, which is by embedding JavaScript code directly to the HTML templates. And another packages that we've used is UUID, which is very useful to deal with data, especially with unique identifiers to keep a record with our database and to avoid conflicts. And yeah, that's it for the backend. And now we'll head over to the challenges.
So some of our challenges included implementing our Figma designs into HTML and CSS. And in order to do this, we had to really take our time. We had to really understand how the Bootstrap layout worked. And to do this, some of us took a Codecademy course. And we also had to make sure we're using CSS properly in addition to Bootstrap to build the front end layouts. One thing that also proved very difficult for us was rendering the table for different use cases. For our main use case, which is a day or multiple days, whether they're non-consecutive days or consecutive days, these meeting times occurred within a 24-hour period. For example, say Monday from 6 to 10 p.m. This proved very easy to build, but when the meetings extended into other days, say past midnight, or meetings ended at midnight, like maybe they took the entire day, we all combine our efforts to create an algorithm called generate of array times to correctly generate clickable and unclickable times in the timetable based on these user inputs. So if the start time was greater than the end time, the tables would generate properly. And Kush will discuss the challenges that we had on the back end.
The first challenge we had on the back end was migrating from PouchDB in Project 4 to PostgreSQL. Initially, we were doing PouchDB, but when we moved to a SQL database, we had to somehow work from scratch to implement a relational database system, which would also work with the new features that we had discussed since then. So getting SQL to work and work nicely and integrated with parts of the front end was the first challenge. Our other challenge was to also migrate from the HTML and CSS mockups to dynamic HTML and EJS templates, where we had to use JavaScript's DOM manipulation and convert from HTML to EJS. This is because the dynamic HTML pages were needed for this to be a dynamic website. For example, throwing an error page when you are not logged in instead of just giving your random dashboard. Moreover, deploying to the Heroku server and using Elephant SQL were also a bit of a challenge. We all worked on it for quite a while, but there was a lack of time and resources, and we much rather put all those resources into actually developing the app. And the SQL setup took a much longer time than we had anticipated. So we just stuck to a local install of PostgreSQL on everyone's computers.
All right, so in conclusion, some of our key points. For MeetU, we defined the philosophy of and designed a minimal viable product. And by doing this, we overcame challenges and delivered a product which allows users to select times, create polls, and create events. So why MeetU? Why is our app valuable? Well, for one, it allows users to easily and efficiently schedule events, both recurring and non-recurring, and see which time periods work best for people. It allows the event author to create polls, which allow users the ability to choose the design of their meetings. And it also allows event creators to manage multiple meetings and provides a more intuitive and visually pleasing user interface for a greater user experience in comparison to other event scheduling platforms. And that is it. Thank you.